Wait a minute, Brian. If there are no good cops like you're constantly carrying on about, then how do you explain this right here?
A woman in handcuffs punched in the face by a Southern California police officer. Fellow officers step in to pull him back.
Hey guys, before I get into today's video, here's a shout out for this video's sponsor. When the shit hits the fan and the power goes out, one of the things you're going to need is an ultra bright flashlight and a power bank to charge your devices. This is the Indoor Outdoor Light Bug Work Light. It's got a solar panel to turn sunlight into storable, usable energy, or you can charge it with a regular wall outlet. The adjustable bracket allows you to hang it, hold it in your hand, or get the perfect light angle on a table. It comes in handy for car repair, fishing, hunting, and camping. And check this out. I fully charged this thing, turned it on, and left it on the counter, and it shined for over 5 hours. Grab a couple of them for family and friends. Your link is in the description.
Now, from my last video, which I put up on my High Impact Flicks channel, is this finally a good cop? You know, people give me a hard time by saying that because I say that there are no good cops, and the reason I say that there are no good cops is because a cop's entire job is rightly described in their title, law enforcement. If you're a law enforcer, then you are somebody who's out there to enforce the law. It's not law suggestion, it's law enforcement. So if you're enforcing laws, where do the laws come from? They come from politicians. Who are politicians? They're some of the most corrupt people on planet Earth. What do politicians do? They believe they write laws, which are just edicts. Edicts are ordinances or opinions, because man can't create a law. What are most of these so-called laws? Are they good laws or are they bad laws? Most of them are utterly evil, cruel, inhumane. They seek to initiate unjust force and violence on peaceful people who've done nothing wrong. For example, the red flag laws say that, hey, we don't recognize your Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your persons, houses, papers, and effects. We don't recognize you as a sovereign individual. We want to take your firearms from you. So if somebody calls 911 and tells the cops, I saw this guy with a firearm in the mall today, or in the grocery store, and he was brandishing his weapon, you weren't, but you scared somebody because they didn't understand and they've never been around firearms and it just scares them to death. So they followed you home and they call 911. So the cops who obey the law because they're law enforcers feel like it's their job to go to your house, trample your right to be secure in your person's, houses, papers, and effects, and then steal your property. Or the drug law. War on drugs. It's not a war on drugs, it's a war on people. Or if they find that you have a bump stock, or if the FBI finds out that you have some automatic weapon. Automatic weapons bans that are upheld and enforced by law enforcers are evil, cruel, unjust, wicked laws. So since most laws are wicked, cruel, unjust, and evil, then these law enforcers are actually evil enforcers. They're enforcing evil upon the land. That's why I say there are no good cops. And if you happen to wake up when you already are in law enforcement, then you won't stay a cop for very long, because you're going to be doing like what these two guys did to this cop right here. Does that mean that cops don't do good things? We're going to see an example of these two cops right here doing something good as this cop right here tries to assault a lady who has her hands cuffed behind her back. That's such a cowardly move. Here's an example of cops doing good things.
Big story tonight. A woman in handcuffs punched in the face by a Southern California police officer. Fellow officers step in to pull him back. Our Jory Rand hearing from an eyewitness. He's
very interesting.
In Westminster with more. Jory.
Mark, we're not really used to seeing this. Officers stepping in to stop.
No, we are not. We are not used to seeing that. And isn't that sad? Because this goes on all the time. You should be used to seeing this, because cops are always doing evil things. No, not one cop stepped in when Johnny Wheatcroft got tased in the nuts 11 times in front of his kids while they traumatized the kids and abused his wife. Just sitting in a parking lot, doing nothing, had done nothing wrong. Not one cop stepped forward on behalf of Johnny Wheatcroft. Not one cop stepped forward when James Boyd in Albuquerque, New Mexico was getting executed by the Albuquerque Police Department. Not one good cop stepped forward during the George Floyd thing. Nobody said, hey, this is kind of ridiculous, man. He's subdued. He's subdued. Why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense. I'm walking away. You guys do it, or try to stop it or something. Not one good cop. So I agree with this guy. This is not something you see every day. Not something you see every week or every month. Does it happen? Yes.
Another officer from doing something they think may have crossed the line, and tonight that officer
is
now under investigation.
He's under investigation. He's got a paid vacation, in other words.
Tonight, a Westminster police officer is on leave after this video surfaced of him punching a woman in handcuffs in the face. And what makes this incident so noteworthy is that two fellow officers stop him, physically block him from landing any more blows.
Did you see that last thing? This cop over here on the right, he put his right hand on this cop's left shoulder and pushed him away. Watch this.
Is that two fellow officers stop him, physically block him from landing any more blows.
He intervened and stopped him, and they made him go to the other. They made him back out from the scene.
Sandy Armenta shot the video Wednesday afternoon. In it, you can see the woman, 34-year-old Xiomara Garcia, stumble as officers try to stand her up. She then kicks the officer near his groin, and that's when he punches back. Her brother tells us...
And you know what's interesting about this? The cop who was initiating the assault on this woman right here, the unnecessary assault, looks to be Hispanic. And this guy, I don't know about this guy. I can't really make out the detail in his face, but this guy right here appears to be a white cop. The woman is Hispanic, because you'll see they're going to talk to the brother and the relatives, and they're all Hispanic, so the likelihood that she's Hispanic is pretty high. But it looks like a Hispanic cop assaulting a Hispanic woman, Hispanic male cop assaulting a Hispanic female, and a white male interceding on the Hispanic female's behalf.
First from mental
if you want to boil this down to race, because that's what mainstream media does, right?
There, she has schizophrenia.
This is her brother.
Bipolar, or at least one of the cops did.
Police were first called after Garcia was accused of assaulting a woman in the street. Her own brother, then basically making...
Yeah, Jesse, I brought race into it because that's what mainstream media does, but they won't bring race into it when the white male does something right. Like, you'll hear Don Lemon all day long talk about the greatest threat in America is white males radicalized to the right, but when a white male does something good on behalf of the minority, do you think Don Lemon's going to say anything? That's why I say something, because it's so off kilter, it's so unbalanced, it's ridiculous and blaring.
Police's case for them.
When we opened the door, they're trying to put handcuffs on her, and she was resisting. They're walking her out. And when we got out of the
Jesse 555, but that doesn't mean you have to bring race into it. Yes, it does, because one of the things truth does is it tells the truth and exposes the lie and the nonsense. The exposure of the nonsense is, oh, how come mainstream media didn't make this about race? How come nothing positive about the white male who did something good for a minority? Must not be any racism going on then. I mean, if you use their train of thought, there's all this racism going on because white people are killing black people. Never mind the fact that FBI crime statistics, if you can take those, for what they say, the amount of white people that die at the hands of law enforcement is double that of black people. Yeah, they want to race bait. That's what it is. I don't say it to race bait. I do it to call them out on their BS. It's necessary.
Kicking the shins, and that's when they threw her to the plants.
Doorbell video caught officers picking Garcia back up out of the flower bed and walking her towards the street. This isn't her first run-in with police. Back to her brother.
Exactly. Unico said it. If it was the white cop punching, it'd be a big problem. And they would have made a big issue out of the woman being Hispanic and the white guy being a white guy. Exactly. Exactly right on, Unico.
For the history,
I guess.
You're adding to the race baiting, but that's funny, Jesse. You got to explain that. How did I add to race baiting by saying, see, race obviously doesn't exist, or the race problem is non-existent, especially not to the level where mainstream media is talking about it.
She assaulted another Asian lady, but they're trying to make her apologize because they know she has mental disorders. And that time, I guess she assaulted the cops too, right here in the front.
This rare instance of officers restraining one of their own comes just days after a Minnesota jury convicted former officer Derek Chauvin in the murder of George Floyd. 3 other officers stood around as Chauvin knelt.
And the whole thing about that stupid trial that they just happen to air for the entire world, they don't do it for other things. Where was the open trial for the injustice done to Kelly Thomas? Oh, that's right. It wasn't there. Oh, that's right. They didn't do that. I wonder why. Was there an agenda? Were they trying to weave a complex narrative of racial injustice when the real problem is authoritarianism? I don't know. Just a couple questions, probably unauthorized questions that I'll be censored for asking.
The dying man's neck for 9 minutes, and they did nothing. All 3 face aiding and abetting second-degree murder charges. These officers weren't going to let something similar happen to them.
That unnamed officer is now on paid administrative leave as Internal Affairs is investigating in cooperation and communication.
I wonder why that officer wasn't named.
With the Orange County District Attorney's Office. That woman is now facing charges of the original assault and battery, assault on an officer, resisting arrest, and being under the influence of a controlled substance. Reporting.
So I just thought that was very, very interesting. Guys, I realize that what I say about cops, that there are no good cops, upsets a lot of people, and that is not my objective. I plan in the next coming days or weeks to have a dedicated live stream where we can have a call-in show where people can actually argue their position for whether there's a good cop or not, and maybe talk to some people who have experiences in law enforcement. I want to get to the bottom of this because this all boils down to the statist mind. The individual and collective mind thinks that there are people out there who have a higher authority or rights that the rest of us don't have, that they have a higher claim over the life and property of others because they're the authorities. So I want to have this discussion, and I think that it can be cordial, and I think that we can both benefit. I'll benefit from you. Hopefully you'll benefit from me. If you're interested in this, or if you have comments about this, leave your comments in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.